Okay, so we are back with Anne with an E, Season 2, Episode 9, the penultimate episode. Only 2 more to go in this season, and then getting on to Season 3. I definitely already understand why people were devastated and are still holding out hope that they'll make another season, because I'm like, I can't believe Season 3 is the last season, but everybody is singing Season 3's praises, so I'm excited to see what all that is about. This is my look for today. I have some braids in here for my homage, as per usual. A little bit of an old-timey-esque style shirt going on. Again, I'll just remind people that literally the reason I do this is comments. I just posted a video last night, and like reading comments, I was like, oh my gosh, I'll film. And now I'm like determined to film a bunch over this Christmas break. So hopefully there will be a lot more content coming out. But if you like these, please let me know. Also, maybe comment below your favorite parts of the video or like things that made you laugh, because it's always so interesting when someone comments something like, oh my god, dying at this, and I was like, oh, I literally thought no one would find that funny. It's just so interesting to see other people's like perceptions and perspectives. So if you feel so inclined, definitely comment below, you know, whatever your favorite parts of the video are, whatever made you laugh. And as always, comments, questions, concerns are all welcome. Discourse, anything. I do have a Patreon, and I do want to say thank you to all the people who are already patrons. I'm figuring out what to do more with that. I'm thinking maybe doing an exclusive series on there that I don't post on YouTube, maybe some more like Q&As, like things that are Patreon exclusive. But it does have full-length, unedited reactions to Anne with an E, and I'm going to be uploading my entire catalog, so that'll be Queen Charlotte and Daisy Jones and the Six and Summer I Turned Pretty as well, full-length reactions. But for now, there's just Anne with an E, full-length reaction, so if you want to watch the entire episode along with me, want more of my reaction, then head over to the Patreon, which will be linked in the description down below. With all that being said, I think we should just get into it. So here we go with Anne with an E, Season 2, Episode 9. Is that clay or a potato? Okay, feeling another kindred spirit vibe.
I'm afraid I lost track of
Why are they looking at her like that, girl? Ooh, she's gorgina.
It boggles the mind.
Look at those
really
lips.
Does. And then my tardiness was compounded.
Oh my god, it's giving Anne.
It's
giving Anne grown up.
Let's hope that's all we have to forgive.
Girl! See, I liked you last episode.
I just laid the world at your feet, didn't I?
Oh!
Here you go, little lady.
It's a beautiful day. We're done with Mr. Phillips. Get out of here.
Bye, bitch.
I was just gonna do that.
Okay, dead. Is Billy gonna be like more respectful now that it's like an attractive woman? He's intimidated.
She's not wearing a corset.
And power to her. Although the aesthetic of a corset, I have no idea what that would even do with the situation that I have going on. It would be crazy. But I want it so desperately. I just want to see. That's one of those things that it's like beauty is pain, and it's like, well, I do love the aesthetic of a corset, even though I hate the mechanics and what you have to do. Oh my god, Jerry! We haven't seen Jerry in forever. Literally anything even slightly inconvenient happening to Sebastian makes me want to cry. Like, him dropping that wood just then, like, I could cry. I could. Fully.
Using the first letters of your given name and surname.
Anna's obsessed.
I'll start.
It's like looking into a mirror a little bit.
Those would be my descriptors if we had the same initials.
Let's start with...
It's like we were separated at birth.
Anne.
Ruby has a crush on
Gilbert Blythe.
Anne, don't out your friend like that, okay? We're gonna have to put some boundaries in here. We're not bestie boos. She is your teacher.
She left our former teacher at the altar. Prissy was affianced to our former teacher, but justifiably fled the wedding.
Girl.
I'll be happy to fill you in about everyone in Avonlea.
Anne is just not thinking right now about the emotional implications of the things that she's saying.
If someone needs me to know something, they'll tell me.
So true. I like this teacher a lot already. I guess it could go sour, but the vibes are good.
Pressing questions from a place of motherly concern. You really think there's
Rachel just wants the hot goss,
correcting the young mind?
and she's disguising it under
We will stop.
genuine parental concern. I can't do this. I just hate to see Sebastian being anything but jubilant.
I'm hoping you wouldn't mind tutoring me.
Husband?
I'm widowed, actually.
Oh, how tragical.
Oh, girl. Anne.
With hard work, it's
Okay, I can see this being a
possible to finish school early
mentorship
and
that,
get
you know,
promoted
she
next year.
helps Anne with some
I'll
of
do
her kind
whatever it
of
takes.
Let's meet before class in the mornings and get you started.
downfalls and
Thank you
negative
so much.
characteristics. Some, like, weird jealousy, some insecurity about him leaving.
I'd like you to write an essay on the perils of gossip and why it's important to have empathy for others.
Period. Love that. Absolutely love that.
I hate myself. I made a terrible impression on beautiful Miss Stacy. That's true. I'm going to write the best essay in the world. The world!
Girl. And it's spiraling.
Perils of gossip.
Will you please slow down?
Will you please come back to school? I need your support.
Oh, he left school?
Back.
Do I have to impress her? She has to like me.
She is having a bit of a breakdown.
Somewhere with a bit more scope.
For the imagination. Oh my god, they have lore and vocabulary.
Poor Marilla here knows all too well the unfulfilled life of an unmarried woman.
Rachel!
Neither of them ever married.
Rachel. I feel like she does this with every new character. You know what I mean? Like, she, like, has a terrible first impression, very judgmental, and then, like, gets used to them, and it's fine. But I'm like, Rachel, learn. Ooh, this is a rough-ass episode. Ooh, girly pop. This is a rough episode for my girl Anne. Girl, didn't you literally put out a house fire? Didn't you literally put out a house fire, like, single-handedly, pretty much? I live. Are these PJs? Ugh. So terrible.
Not a chance.
Miss Stacy's expecting me early. I can't believe I
No, I
actually
don't like this.
Wait, what do you mean next year?
I don't like a deterioration of their relationship. I don't like distance building
Yeah, but
between
even next
them.
year, that was...
I have a chance, finally, to get something that I want.
What is Sebastian supposed to do, though?
I came here so we could work this land together for 2 years until it comes back to life and I've learned farming, and then you'll go.
Plans changed. This is my future.
Your future,
Gilbert.
not mine. While I'm here alone and you're at school, every
Yeah.
minute, we can get you help. Nobody wants to know me, let alone work for me. How do I do all this by myself?
You'll figure it out. I gotta go.
Ooh, Gilbert, baby. This is... Both Gilbert... It's very interesting. They're on a parallel little journey of some of their negative characteristics coming out.
They're much too unwell.
Because she burned her essay or whatever. I really do like that hair for her. I think it complements her really well. He's brave. I mean, I guess he's really been put in a position where he kind of has no choice, which sucks, and I hate that that's where it is with Gilbert. Although it is a tough position because it's like, if everyone is on the struggle bus this episode, shit. But it's a tough position for Gilbert too, because I guess it's like, you know, if he does get a great opportunity to accelerate his education, like, is he just gonna give it up or stay behind? You know what I mean? But I don't know, you brought Sebastian here, you had a plan, he doesn't, this is your home. She's gonna get Jerry to take out the trap.
Jerry, come here.
Bless him.
And suddenly the pages were ablaze. I had the great idea to stomp on it with my shoes. And it went out. And then I
Interesting shot of Marilla looking at the skeleton. I'll have to analyze that.
eavesdropping.
I'm trying to study.
I'm going to need Miss Stacy's help with my vocation.
What is
Do whatever you
happening?
want.
What is happening?
I call it.
Gilbert and Anne are different characters right now. This is so funny and weird.
Would you care to stay and observe?
Why,
Aw.
thank you.
We're really gonna have some journey of, like, education or, you know, higher learning, something like that. Getting a job.
I was going to say,
If you've ever watched a thunderstorm with powerful stuff,
I could cry seeing Marilla be lit up, no pun intended,
between the
like this about learning and life and being inspired by the teacher. Marilla, don't do this to me. Like, I know she's a grown woman. I don't mean to infantilize her, but sometimes there's just something about an older person rediscovering something that they were robbed of in some way, or learning something that they never were able to learn for whatever reason, that I'm just like, it just makes me so sad and happy. Girl.
Hello.
Is she like bringing electricity to this entire community? And they're like, we don't want that. Don't. No. Girl, you're gonna get electrocuted. Ooh.
My child, please stay back. Thank you.
Girl, your child was about to put fucking wire and electric currents and potentially glass near or in his mouth. I think you should be looking to yourself to go, why did my child do that and where have I failed? You know what I mean? It's gonna go down to the bog, get someone to help from there. Yep. I knew this wasn't the last we'd see of her.
You owe me $5.
It was my fault.
Okay, period, Moody.
Safe and sound at a desk.
Taking responsibility, we love that.
That wasn't science. That was prestidigitation.
I hope to be exactly like her someday. She is a smart, lovely, despite overcoming a tragedy.
Girl, I can't remember if my thought got interrupted, but I find her to be very, the teacher to be very, like, beautiful in a unique way. She's kind of captivating. A bit more of a rare beauty, I feel.
Working with your hands, where everything you do every day counts for something. Sounds like a life to me.
It's a great way to look at it. Don't tell me. Girl, I thought he was going straight in for that kiss.
You've created an enchanted kingdom here.
Oh, it gives me such a thrill that you perceive so. I devote myself to my education here, just so you know.
This is good, getting to know her in a better way.
Why isn't he in school?
He's been bullied. Oh, is it gossip if I tell you that?
No, that is actually something that
tell you because I'm sure you
you can tell.
If I really need to know, and if I could help him, you should tell me.
Yeah. Good lessons Anne's learning. What is gossip and what is useful information that will be helpful to others? I love this new character already, just the change that she's making, the influence and impact that she has on other characters, on the plot. So perfect.
Bow down to the queen, bitches.
Bash. Just wait till you see what I got you for supper.
Ugh, Gilbert doesn't think
Thought you could teach me to make crab callaloo.
it's certainly an element of ignorance and privilege. You know what I mean? That, like, that conversation to him didn't register as anything. He's like bringing home dinner and he's like expecting everything to be okay because it to him wasn't a big deal, which in and of itself is a privilege to not see it as a big deal. Did it work? Billy, you could grow on me. You still have a chance to turn this around to me. And I know that's what everyone wants. I know that's your deepest desire. So
Come out wherever you are.
you don't be doing this.
Oh.
Is he gonna become the, like, just...
The woman was too stunned to speak.
Ooh, this has made me emotional. Huh. Seems very symbolic and metaphorical for the greater themes at play. But this is awful. Girl, Rachel. You guys, everybody is kind of pissing me off in this episode. Except for Marilla, the teacher, and Sebastian.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool.
Anne is not in a good way this episode.
Why won't you listen to me?
Not his expression!
Apparently, he hasn't been to school for quite some time. He goes every day. Books. Cole, come here.
I'm sorry.
We've made sacrifices to allow him schooling. And if he's not going, we need him here, working the farm. It seems you've been lying to us.
Ooh, she's going to her place for refuge, and it's destroyed. Him too.
You sold me out. I trusted you.
Ooh.
What are you talking about? Are you that desperate to be liked?
I was trying to help.
Well, you ruined my life. He'll never let me leave the farm now. Not even for school. It's over. I have nothing.
Where are you going?
Sorry. Whose garment was that? I thought it was Billy's, and then that was like him figuring out, and I was like, oh my god, this is his villain arc. Yeah, okay. It is his little villain arc. And you know what? He's been pushed to a point. And of course she's gonna be blamed. Cole's like running away. Dead ass. Like out of Avonlea. Okay, so that was a very interesting episode. I don't even know what to say. Like, that was a very interesting episode. Anne was not doing well this episode. And, you know, I could, like, deeper psychoanalyze. I think she really, obviously, is spiraling and is triggered from a lifetime of feelings of neglect, abuse, rejection, mistreatment, etc. And seeing herself in someone and maybe finally being like, oh my gosh, this is a person who will finally like me. Like, feeling such, you know, that she was a kindred spirit and having the first impression not be that great. It was really devastating to her to have someone that she really wanted to like her not like her. It depends. Like, I think sometimes she doesn't really care that people don't like her. Sometimes she does, you know what I mean? It kind of varies based on the situation, based on the person. But yeah, that sent her into a spiral. She was really, really, really acting out this episode. And this was all, you know, trauma response. Like, she's really reverting back to a lot of her old ways, unhealthy ways of communicating her thoughts and feelings, kind of a petulant, childish responses, a lot of screaming, anger, kind of, for lack of a better word, hissy fits, tantrums, which is very normal for traumatized people. And it's, you know, it's funny because it does appear on the outside like a tantrum that you would see in, you know, a toddler or whatever, but it's really a lot more than that for people who have been traumatized and abused, like Anne and yours truly, because it's a spiral. You get triggered, and you just kind of get really out of whack. Like, you just kind of lose it. You just don't know what to do. You feel like the world is ending. You are feeling everything you've ever felt before, you know, re-experiencing your entire lifetime full of trauma and adding that on top of whatever's happening that's upsetting you. And it's funny because, you know, she didn't make a great first impression on the teacher, but I don't think it was that bad of an impression. But of course, to Anne, it's similar to the thing with Matthew. To Anne, anything less than like a resounding, I love you, I'm obsessed with you, let's be best friends, pretty much, for the teacher, was going to be heartbreaking to her. And so she has yet to be able to, like, fully or consistently tell the difference between someone not liking her versus someone not agreeing with something that she did and wanting her to change her behavior, which I relate to as well. It is so difficult when you've been that traumatized, when you've had that many instances of that many people treating you badly your entire life. It is so difficult to discern, and it literally, I mean, your nervous system literally changes. Your brain rewires to be in a constant state of panic, in a constant state of weariness and fear. So anything that's not overtly loving or kind can feel very, very hurtful. And that's not necessarily, again, the people's fault, right? Like, I don't think the teacher did anything wrong. She was actually 100% correct for being like, girl, don't tell me this, and you need to do an assignment and think about your actions. Like, she was absolutely correct. But I do understand, again, as someone who has similar experiences, how, especially at that age, Anne was not able to discern the difference between, like, a scolding or a behavioral issue versus I hate you. Like, it's like criticizing any part of her means, oh, you hate my guts and you want me to die and I'll never be happy again. Like, that's, and again, to some people it sounds ridiculous, but that is just what happens. Like, I can't emphasize enough the restructuring that the brain and body and nervous system goes through after experiencing trauma and abuse like this. It is devastating. It really puts your guards up. It really makes you sensitive to a lot of things. And then what's more is, you know, you get blamed for that as well. She reminded me a lot of kind of like episode 1 Anne, yelling at Rachel and running off and kind of just not coping. And that's another thing. With trauma like this, you need skills to cope. You need awareness of certain things, and then you need the skills to cope with things as they come. You need to have the wherewithal to identify what is happening and what isn't happening. Because, again, a lot of times something even resembling negativity can feel like, oh, so this is happening. Whereas it's absolutely not in reality. But to you, that's what it feels like. So that's what you interpret it as, and that's what you act accordingly to. And it's difficult not to take things personally. I think as I've grown up, I have gotten a lot better at that, right? I have more years on Anne, that's for sure. And she'll get there, she'll learn. This is just an unfortunate side effect of her trauma that she needs to work on in order to have a better life for herself and better relationships with other people. As I got older, I was able to kind of identify things from a less emotionally charged place, like zooming out of it, being like, okay, so is what this person is saying or doing to and with me and for me objectively bad or mean or malevolent, or does it just feel that way because of the things that I've experienced? And once you start asking yourself that question, you're a lot more likely to have better relationships with people and have a better relationship with yourself, because once you are able to do that and discern the difference between those two things, you know, that's the first step. And then having tools to learn how to cope with things when they feel hard, when they are triggering, when they do remind you of past trauma, is the second part. And, you know, it's abundantly clear that she has a long way to go with both of those things. She has, I feel like, generally been better, just by virtue of, like, the environment that she's been in and the understanding from Matthew and Marilla. But the catastrophizing is something that she needs to work on. It's funny because she is very introspective, but in a very particular way. I think she is introspective about certain things about herself that fit an ideal, that fit an image, that's kind of romantic. You know, she's a dreamer, she is a storyteller, you know, these things. Like, she knows herself well in a lot of ways, but I think she is very unaware in other ways of herself and of the way she behaves and of the way that her behavior is. You know what I mean? Like, she had no clue that gossiping to the teacher was like, maybe not a good thing to do, right? And that's not her fault. No one's taught her any different. So it's good that someone is teaching her now. But again, it's just the type of thing where it needs to be a learning lesson. And it sucks to see her kind of spiral so much. But again, I have full faith that, you know, she'll continue learning. That teacher's going to be a great influence. Love that teacher, by the way. Loved, obsessed with the impact that she made in one episode on all the other characters and on the plot and everything. Oh my God, I would so much rather see this than anything Mr. Phillips. Thank you very much. Truly, I do thank the N with an E creators for doing this, because this is so much more interesting, so much more entertaining, so much more heartwarming. It feels also a little bit more in line with the tone and the thematic elements of the show. You know what I mean? Like, it just, the wholesomeness, learning, loving, community building, outcasts, kindred spirits, it feels a lot more aligned with that than anything going on with Mr. Phillips did, which I think I mentioned in the discussion for the last episode, where it just felt a little out of place. It was just kind of like, what's the point of them doing this? And it wasn't entirely clear, and it was very different than a lot of the other kind of lessons taught and learned in the show. Love the impact on Marilla specifically. Very interested. I mean, ever since, I forget what episode it was, but whenever she started, like, being like, contemplating, like, herself and her life, I was like, oh, I cannot wait for Marilla to go on this journey. So whatever that looks like, if she wants to do more education, if she wants to become a teacher, if she wants to get a job, if she wants to find a husband late in life, like, what if she wants to do nothing at all, if she really likes being a mother, like, whatever it is, I am here for it. I am in support. It was really, really, really awesome to see her kind of light up like that. But there is something specifically that I find touching and affecting about older people having experiences of like childlike joy, wonder, amusement, discovery. It feels very antithetical, you know what I mean, for someone who's late in their years in life or later to be experiencing the world in a new way, in a pure way. Just always very touching to see. I love to see it. It makes me want to cry every time. And again, it's not, I don't mean to infantilize Marilla because she's a grown woman, you know what I mean? But I'm like, oh, Marilla, period. I just love that for her. She has had so much kind of taken from her. So seeing her chart a path that might really reclaim some things for her, period. Period. I am down for them to be friends. Rachel. Oh, Rachel. Rachel really stepped in it in this one. It's funny. The only people that I wasn't, like, getting pissed at in this episode were Marilla, the teacher, and Miss Stacy. Is that right? The teacher and Sebastian. Like, everyone else was getting on my nerves and annoying me and doing things that I was like, girl, please. Yeah, but Rachel, I mean, again, I think all the things in this episode really fit with the characters. It's just the negative aspects of their personalities and their lives. Like, everything we've seen with Anne, Gilbert, and Rachel, and even Cole to some extent in this episode, very much aligns with the things that they have going on in their personalities, right? Like, a downfall of Rachel's is she is a gossip, right? She is judgmental. She is closed-minded in some ways. She has a tendency to really say a lot of things without thinking or maybe even caring about the impacts of her words, just making grand statements, judgments right off the bat, like immediately once she meets someone. That's something we've seen multiple times. And as much as we've seen another side of Rachel that's very lovely and amazing, that side is still there. And so it was just like that side again, which I think is it was just frustrating to watch because I love Rachel and I just don't like seeing her, I'm like, girl, can we learn? Can we grow? Can we move past this? Can we stop doing this, like, permanently? Because for the most part, she has grown a lot and she has learned and adapted in a lot of ways. But I'm like, girl, every time a new character is introduced, Rachel has something to say, something to do. I'm like, girl, just mind your business. And again, and the, like, reactions and the way of coping and the way of communicating, obviously. Gilbert, it's funny because I think this is actually the first time I've ever had any sort of negative, and not even, negative, but any feeling that wasn't, like, overwhelmingly positive about Gilbert. This was the first time that I've ever had any kind of feeling where I was like, I don't love what's happening. Please don't do that, This was the first time, so it's new territory for sure, because he is such a just kind of sweetie pie. He's just he's a doll. You know what I mean? Like, he's just such a sweet, lovely boy. So we haven't really seen negative characteristics of him. And even so much so that I think first season especially, I was almost a little bit critical of it because I was like, this is not real. You know what I mean? I was like, this is not a real person. Someone who, like, Anne's, like, low-key coming for his throat and, like, going after him and badgering him and treating him terribly. And he's just like, hey, queen, love you. Like, oh, do you want to come and sit? Like, he was so nice to her and so nice to everyone despite anything that they did or said. Like, that never changed. And then I saw a little bit of the development, or a little bit of, like, a peek behind the curtain with, didn't he beat up Billy after his dad's death? So, again, we've had some, like, element. But, Billy has done so much shit, I was, like, not mad at him for doing that. I was like, maybe not the best way, but, I get it. And I think specifically the introduction of Sebastian introduces just an ignorance and a privilege that Gilbert has that he is not aware of and has to be reminded of consistently by Sebastian, which must be exhausting for him. And so, while he means well and he has a good heart, those are flaws for sure. And there is a level of just kind of one-track mind, self-centeredness to this particular episode, not thinking about Sebastian, going back on plans, really prioritizing himself, like, far and away above other people. And it's interesting because he doesn't have any family left, right? Sebastian's the only person that he has now in his life, really, that could be considered family. And not even, they haven't known each other for that long, which I'm sure is what Gilbert's reverting to. You know what I mean? He's like, well, we don't really, like, you can downplay a relationship because you're like, well, we don't, it's not like we're actual family, even though, you know, they have become actual family in order to justify, you know, leaving Sebastian. I think he's doing a little bit of the, you know, mind Olympics of like, well, how long have we known each other? Do I owe him anything? Like I got him off the ship, kind of like taking inventory of like all the good things that he's done with Sebastian. So he's like, well, it can even out, you know, that type of thing. And there also is, I think, probably an element of like, Gilbert is a very giving, generous person, but he's also spent a large majority of his life taking care of other people. And, you know, this is maybe the first time in his life where he's like prioritizing himself. And sometimes that can be hard to have a balance with if you've been so devoted to other people and neglected yourself for so long. The moment that you start taking care of yourself and prioritizing yourself, sometimes you go a little too far. You know what I mean? You lose a lot of empathy, or you lose a lot of any kind of help. You know, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be you help everyone but yourself, or you help yourself and no one else, which I think he's kind of going between. And he just needs to find a balance of like, no, I can help other people and myself. But there might be an element of him being a little like triggered by that, or like feeling annoyed at a burden to like teach Sebastian all these things, or to help Sebastian when he's like, I want to, you know, go be successful with my life, which is fair, again, given how much he's already had to give up of his life and his childhood to take care of his dad. Although it's not the same, of course, at all, and Sebastian doesn't deserve that, but I'm just trying to think of the like psychology that might be behind it, and that's kind of what I can maybe glean. Yeah, also Anne and Gilbert being like really rude to each other, really petulant, very competitive, very mean-spirited. It's interesting to watch. I'm kind of like, what's happening? But it's because they're both in bad headspaces, and they're both just like not in a good way. So, you know, they're clashing, and of course they are academic rivals after all. So we gotta circle back to that. As for Cole, I want to make it clear, I'm not really placing him in the same level of, I guess, annoyance or disappointment or bad behavior as the other ones, but I do think there were a few times in this episode where I was like, girl. But I understand, he's in a hard position. I mean, he's completely valid to not want to go back to school, right? He's been treated horribly. And I can't blame him for that. I think it's a little short-sighted. Because what's the alternative? Like, he's going to be making all these sculptures. I guess in his mind, he's like thinking that maybe he can get really good at art and then sell it, and he doesn't need to go to school. And I understand why he didn't want to go back, for sure. Between Billy and Mr. Andrews, like, girl. But there was a new teacher, and I wish there was a little bit more of an openness to that. Again, he's protecting himself, so it's understandable. But it's frustrating to watch, if that makes sense, because I'm just like, girl, it'll be different. Like, seeing how awesome the teacher is, it's like, no, she will help you. You know what I mean? Like, you can learn a lot. There's still a lot of good that can come from you going to school, and the path that you're taking is very risky, whereas I think school probably would be a better path for him. He's in a bad spot because it's not really like he has familial support. He gets treated horribly at school and doesn't really have, again, the system of support that he would need. And then also, you know, there's these expectations of him at home, like he would need to work the land or work at home, and it doesn't seem like his home life is that great. So he's, you know, isolating, and he's trying to find an alternative. But again, it's just like, from my perspective, I'm like, girl, there is none. I don't blame him for trying to find one, but I do a little bit I'm like, just think about it. You know what I mean? I'm like, think a little bit about, like, what you're doing. But he's a kid. It's not, you know, that deep. I'm not, like, really actually, but I just, again, it was a little frustrating to watch. I was like, Cole, just give it a chance. It can be different. But again, he's just in self-protection mode. And then at the end with Anne, yeah, felt, I don't know. There was something about it that that didn't sit right with me, but I don't really know exactly what it was. I think it was certainly very dramatic, and I'm not trying to diminish the experience that Cole's going through in that moment, because in that moment, it is world-shattering to him, right? Like, like he said, my entire life's ruined. To him, right in this moment, his entire life is ruined. We, of course, know that it's not. So watching it, it's, you know, the grand statements and pronouncements that he was making of, like, never and always and forever and ruined my life, you know, ring a little escalated, dramatic. It's a little like, okay, calm down. But he's in a heightened state of emotion and experience right now. He's really going through it. All his sculptures have been destroyed, and that's the one thing that he had as an escape, and now Anne's kind of ruined his bad plan. You know what I mean? I was like, no, Anne did the right thing, generally speaking. Of course, I don't expect Cole to, like, see that right now, but objectively speaking, she probably did the right thing that will probably end up benefiting him the most. But to him, you know, she ruined his life, she ruined his family life, and his school life, and his creative endeavors. So I completely understand where he's coming from. It's just not, I just don't think it's entirely, like, accurate, I guess. But then again, we have a fuller picture, right? Like, I'm not blaming him for in the moment in his own life going through these experiences and thinking these things. I would be the biggest hypocrite in the entire world if I was judging that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, girl, well, and it's easy to see with other people when they're catastrophizing. You're like, girl, calm down, you're gonna be fine. But when it's you, you're like, no, I swear to you, you're like, with every bone in my body, I am 100% sure that my life is over. You know what I mean? And it feels that, and that's real. And I don't mean to diminish the severity of that or the pain of that at all, because I have gone through many, 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 many instances of that exactly. Yeah, it's so funny, because again, I, like, have more perspective now, and I'm like, girl. But you just being so sure that something is terrible or ruined forever, or you can't do something, or you'll never do something, like, just being so sure. But it's not real. It's not reality. It's not based in reality. It's exaggerated. Yeah, the first fight between Anne and Cole as well was brought on by this. They were both in really bad places mentally, so that makes sense. Again, I just hope that one of Cole's things that he can do is, like, maybe grow and, like, having a little bit more perspective, if that makes sense, which is something that, like, everyone needs. It's not, like, a particular attack on him, necessarily. I think everyone could use more perspective in their lives. Everyone could use more introspection. Everyone could use that for sure. And it was hard to see him taking it out on Anne when, of course, the things being destroyed weren't her fault, and she was really coming from a good place in telling the teacher about him. And she's already devastated and, like, in a terrible place. So then, on top of that, for Cole to be like, you ruined my life, and, you know, our friendship's ruined, like, having that, I was just like, ooh, this is not good. We're piling on Anne. But again, I understand where both of them are coming from, for sure. Yeah, I just love that teacher. I think she's very intriguing, very fascinating, very alluring, very pretty, very smart. I love her. I'm like, period. Yes. Yes. I love women. Oh, I love women. They're the greatest. Like, seeing the trio of Anne, Marilla, and Miss Stacy, was just, like, giving me life. I was like, yes, this is perfect. They can all help each other, learn and grow, and dominate the world, and take on the world together. They're icons, they're legends, they're goddesses, you know what I mean? That vibe. Yeah, Cole at the end with Billy. I mean, what the fuck? What is up with Billy? I don't know. If they're gonna show so much of it, I almost wish there was we knew a little bit more about him. Not necessarily to, like, no, to understand, because I'm just like, girl, it seems, again, like he's filling the place of, like, a cartoonish villain, almost, like Mr. Phillips did, where it's like, you're just so horrible. And for what? You know what I mean? It's just like, why are you doing this? And I get that people are horrible. I was bullied. I completely understand. Kids are vicious. Kids can do shit just because they want to, because they think it's funny. It's really kind of a little crazy. But I just wish I knew more about him, because I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why are you doing this? You know what I mean? Why are you going out of your way to, like, destroy all these things and all these people and make everyone miserable? And I don't know that they've really... I think they just need him as a figure to rub up against, rather than, like, they've actually done character work on him, or, like, have a backstory for him, which, again, I would like, because getting more prissy was interesting, and it is very interesting. There's 3 siblings in that class together, and we know nothing about 2 of them, other than, you know, the things that they say in class, right? We don't actually know about, like, their home life. Their dad seemed really nice just then. The mom is questionable. But I'd like to, like, get expansion on that or a little more insight on that, because I'm just like, because otherwise I'm just like, okay, you're the worst. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, you're the worst. You hate everything and everyone, and you just are, like, pretty kind of evil, you know? And I don't love that. And it doesn't, again, seem to align with a lot of the character portrayals that have been done in Anne with an E. Usually they're a lot more nuanced and layered than that, so I just would like to know more about it, I guess. But again, like, he's the type of character that I look at and I'm like, I could see a world where I like you. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that. If only you would just take the road to righteousness. You know what I mean? Like, if you would just clean up your act, if you would just have some self-reflection, if you would just have a change, have a character arc, grow. You know, I could be fucking with Billy hard. You know what I mean? Like, I could be like, me and Billy are like this, but he's insisting on making me just roll my eyes. Okay, I think the camera went out, but I've pretty much gotten everything I wanted to say out of the way, so that was a good episode. Can't wait till the next episode, season 2 finale. Again, if you like these, comment below, comment your favorite moments, your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want to say down below about this episode, about this reaction. And if you're interested in seeing full-length reactions, the Patreon will be linked in the description below, so check that out. And I will see you for Anne with an E, season 2, episode 10. Bye!